While I was setting the table at Thanksgiving, my dad recorded a video of me and posted it on Facebook with the caption, "Look at this failure, she was always a servant." My siblings laughed. I got angry and left. The next day my sister wrote, "Why can't I withdraw $2,000 from your account?" Without thinking twice, I exploded and I was setting the table for Thanksgiving like I always did. Plates, glasses, silverware. That's how it started every year. Everyone else lounged around like guests in a hotel while I moved around the kitchen like staff. It had become such a routine, no one even thanked me anymore. I did the work, they took it for granted. And this time I told myself to stay quiet and just get through dinner. My sister was on the couch, fake laughing at something on her phone, and my brother was yelling at the TV because his team was losing. My dad cracked open another beer before noon. My mom was the only one actually helping, quietly sliding the turkey into the oven. That was the last Thanksgiving I would ever spend in that house. I just didn't know it yet. I didn't see my dad holding his phone. He must have been filming me from the dining room while I was fixing the centerpieces. I wasn't doing anything special, just lining up the plates evenly like I always did, because God forbid someone else take responsibility for how things looked. I didn't notice the video until dinner was already on the table. I was sitting across from my cousin Lisa when she leaned toward me and whispered, "Have you seen Facebook?" My phone buzzed. A notification. There it was. My dad had posted a 14-second clip of me folding napkins and arranging forks. Caption read, "Look at this failure. She was always a servant." My brother had already commented, "Oh, she still thinks she's doing something." My sister replied with, "No lie though, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy." They were laughing across the table. Like it was an inside joke. Like I wasn't sitting right there. I didn't say anything. I got up, walked out of the dining room, grabbed my purse and left. No one followed me. I walked straight out of that house and kept walking for almost 10 minutes before I called my aunt. She left the dinner too. Said she'd had enough of watching them treat me like trash. She picked me up from the corner of Eastwood and 5th and drove me to her place. That night I laid on her guest bed fully dressed. I didn't sleep. I just stared at the ceiling with my phone face down beside me. The thing about being the family punchline is that it doesn't happen all at once. It's slow. It builds. You let one thing go, then another, and before you know it, your dad's posting you online like a joke and your siblings are chiming in like it's their part-time job. What they didn't know was that I'd been saving. Quietly. Working 50+ hours a week. Not going out. Not buying new clothes. Skipping vacations. Letting my sister borrow money without ever paying it back. I'd put away over $21,000. They thought I was dumb. Broke. Weak. That illusion shattered the next morning. At 8:12 a.m. my sister texted me. "No, are you okay, or where are you? Just, why can't I withdraw $2,000 from your account?" He meant my account. I called her. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just said it straight. The joint account was closed and everything was moved. She flipped. Sent 6 messages in a row calling me selfish, manipulative, bitter. Said she needed the money for urgent stuff. Her definition of urgent being concert tickets and some scam skincare brand. By noon my dad messaged me. Not to apologize. Not to check in. Just, "You've always been dramatic. Grow up." And that's when I snapped. They didn't know where I was. They thought I'd be crawling back. They thought this was just another silent treatment. But they were about to learn something I'd been holding back for years. I wasn't just angry. I was done. By Sunday morning, the silence in their house must have started to feel unfamiliar. No one clanging pans, no footsteps rushing through the hallway, no one asking if anyone needed anything. I wasn't there, and for the first time in years, no one was picking up the pieces. I didn't answer any of their messages. My aunt made waffles and coffee and we sat on her porch for an hour without talking. She wasn't the type to press. She just said, "Whatever you decide, make sure it's not out of guilt." I nodded. My phone buzzed 5 times during breakfast. I didn't check it once. Around noon I did open my phone. Not because I cared what they had to say, I just needed to confirm what I already suspected. The first thing I saw was a new group chat with my siblings. I never asked to be added, but there it was. First message was a photo. My room. Drawers yanked out. My mirror shattered. Makeup crushed underfoot. Books on the floor like trash. The caption under the photo from my brother just said, "Cleaning day." Then a second message from him right under it. "Should have taken your crap with you." I froze. I scrolled down and saw my sister chimed in with, "Don't worry. We saved your trash notebooks all." That's when I felt something in my chest shift. I hadn't cried when I walked out. I didn't cry when my dad posted that video. But now, sitting there on a quiet porch holding a phone full of evidence that my own siblings, people I once bought birthday cakes for, had destroyed the last bits of my personal space, I felt something sharp settle in my gut. I called my cousin Mark, who lived a couple blocks away from my parents. He'd always been neutral, never got involved in the drama, but I trusted him more than anyone else in that house. I asked if he could stop by and see if anything was salvageable. He didn't even hesitate. 15 minutes later, he texted me a photo of my laptop, passport, and a few documents sitting on his front seat. That was all he could save. He told me not to come back. That they'd gone through every drawer, thrown things out, and even opened the safe box where I kept old letters and cards. He said my sister was joking about burning my journals. I didn't reply to that. I didn't know what to say that didn't sound like screaming. That night my mom called. Her voice was low. She said she didn't know they were going to do it. Said she tried to stop them. Said my dad told her it was time to teach Rebecca a lesson. She apologized like it would glue anything back together. I didn't yell at her. I just stayed quiet. The silence on the phone felt heavier than anything I could have said. I still loved her, but something in me changed forever. The next morning, I moved out of my aunt's place and into my uncle and aunt's house on the other side of town. It was bigger, quieter, and had a guest room with its own entrance. They didn't ask for rent. My uncle just said, "We'll figure that out later. For now, you rest." That evening, over dinner, he asked if I was still thinking about getting an apartment. I told him yes, that I'd already looked at a studio near the bus line. He looked at my aunt, then back at me and said, "You're not wasting your money on rent. Not yet. Not while you're still rebuilding." Then out of nowhere he said something I didn't see coming. "You know your dad still owes me $6,000, right?" I didn't. I blinked. He explained how years ago when their roof caved in, my dad begged him for a loan, promised he'd pay it back in 6 months. That was nearly 4 years ago. Not a cent repaid. I was gonna remind him after the holidays, my uncle said. But now, well, I'm calling that debt forgiven. And not in a good way. He poured himself another glass of wine, then added, "Let him feel what it's like to be cut off." That was the moment I realized this was bigger than me. I wasn't just walking away from a toxic house. I had started something I didn't even mean to. My dad, my sister, my brother. They didn't know it yet, but they weren't just losing me. They were losing the people around me. The ones who'd stayed quiet for too long. The ones they thought would never choose sides. But they had chosen. And now the sides were clear. That entire week felt like I was watching a house burn from a distance. And no matter how many times I told myself not to look back, I kept checking for smoke. On Wednesday, my sister sent a screenshot of her declined transaction at Sephora. $198.36. Declined. She captioned it, "You're really this bitter?" Then 5 minutes later, "I needed that serum. You're seriously sick." The joint account was closed. I'd given her too much for too long. When we first opened it, I told myself it was just for emergencies. But her idea of an emergency was always something expensive and ridiculous. Clothes, subscriptions, dinner dates she couldn't afford. She never once offered to pay it back. When I started questioning her, she got defensive. That's when I realized she wasn't confused. She was entitled. I blocked her that afternoon. By Thursday, my brother joined in. He posted a joke on his Instagram story with a screenshot of my Facebook profile and an overlay text. "Imagine ruining Thanksgiving over a napkin." Then he messaged me directly. "You made this a big deal. We didn't even say anything that bad. Grow thicker skin." Followed by, "Come back and talk like a normal person." Normal person. This was coming from the same brother who once got me to pay his car insurance for 3 months while he spent weekends getting drunk and buying new speakers. The same brother who once called me boring for not wanting to get into debt for fun. I didn't reply. I just logged out of everything. But my cousin Mark, the one who'd saved my documents, texted me later that night with something new. He said my dad had asked him if I was planning to sue. That was the word he used. Not, "Come home," not, "Talk to us," not, "How is she doing?" Just, "Sue." Mark said my dad was panicking a little because apparently he'd heard that destroying someone's personal belongings, even inside your own home, could lead to legal consequences, especially if any of it was valuable or irreplaceable. I laughed. It was the first time I'd laughed in days. No, I wasn't suing them. Not yet. Not ever, probably. But the fact that he was worried about me taking action? That was new. That was different. And then the most unexpected thing happened. Friday morning I got an email. Not from my dad. Not from my siblings. From my dad's boss. I stared at it for a full minute before opening it. It was polite, short. Just said he was reaching out because he'd seen the Facebook video, the one my dad had posted and later deleted. But it had already been shared. He didn't say anything harsh. He just said, "Wanted to check in and ask if you're okay." That's it. Turns out someone in his office had seen the video before it was deleted and passed it around. Quietly. My dad works in a mid-sized contracting firm, mostly men, not the type of place where gossip spreads fast. But this had. And someone decided it was worth escalating. I never responded to the email. But knowing that he'd embarrassed himself publicly, that the video meant to humiliate me might actually cost him something, it was a strange kind of peace. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need to fight him. He was doing a perfect job of destroying himself. That weekend I stayed inside. My aunt and uncle gave me full space, only coming in to ask if I wanted to join dinner. I did once. We ate spaghetti and talked about nothing. It was nice. Uneventful. But deep inside I was changing. I wasn't waiting for apologies anymore. I was done pretending my family would ever see me differently. Now I had one job: move forward. The weekend passed quietly, almost too quietly. I started looking for part-time weekend work just to keep my mind busy. I wasn't ready to rent my own place yet. My uncle insisted I stay until I found something stable, but I needed some control over something, anything. Monday morning my cousin Mark texted again. He'd gone back to my parents' house to return a tool he borrowed months ago, and when he walked in something strange happened. He said my dad was sitting at the kitchen table writing letters. Like actual pen and paper letters. Mark said there were at least 3 already stacked in a pile, all sealed. When he asked what they were, my dad said, just tying up some loose ends. Mark didn't think much of it until he left and found an envelope under his windshield wiper with my name on it. He brought it straight to me. The envelope was thick, too thick for a single letter. I stared at it for a long time before opening it. Inside were 4 folded sheets of paper and 2 photographs. Real photos. One of me as a baby with my mom holding me at the hospital, and another from a camping trip when I was 11. My dad had his arm around me in that one, both of us smiling at something off camera. I unfolded the pages. The first page wasn't an apology. It was a breakdown. Bullet points. Literally. You were never easy to understand. You always acted like you were better than the rest of us. I'm not saying we were right, but you made it easy to ignore you. And then this. Your sister has problems. We all know it. She uses people. She used you. You let her. Then the second page shifted tone. Got weirder. He started talking about things that made no sense. He mentioned a loan he took out in my name 5 years ago. Said he'd used my SSN and promised to pay it off before I ever noticed. Said it was small, not enough to matter. That he had no choice at the time. That was when I stopped reading. I ran to my uncle's office with the letter. He read it twice, looked something up, and told me we were going to pull my credit report immediately. When it loaded, I couldn't speak. I just stared at the screen. There were 2 credit cards I didn't recognize. Both opened under my name. One had a $2,400 balance. The other was closed but still showed a missed payment from 3 years ago. He'd actually done it. He'd used my name to get money behind my back. He stole my identity and never told me. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there holding that photograph from the hospital. My uncle stood up and walked out of the room. 10 minutes later I heard him talking to someone on the phone. Calm, serious. When he came back he said, "We're reporting it. Today. You're not letting this slide." I couldn't believe it. My own father had committed fraud, not just emotionally manipulative nonsense, actual financial crime, against me, and he had the nerve to send a letter like it was some twisted confession. I spent the rest of the day on the phone with the credit agencies, closing accounts, freezing reports, setting up fraud alerts. It felt like I was cleaning up a mess I never even knew existed. But here's where it got even stranger. That night after dinner my mom called. I didn't answer. Then she texted, "There's something in your room you need to see." I didn't let them touch it. I ignored it at first. I didn't trust anything from that house. But curiosity crept in. I texted Mark again. Asked if he could check. He went back the next morning. Found a shoebox under my old bed with my name written in black marker. Inside were receipts, torn up greeting cards, and notes. Things I'd written when I was younger, including a letter I wrote to myself when I turned 18. A dumb letter filled with hope and plans. But underneath all that was something I never expected. A bank book. My mom had opened an account in my name when I was 14. She put in small amounts, $50 here, $20 there, and had saved over $3,000 in that account by the time I turned 21. But I'd never seen that money. I never even knew about the account. She hadn't told me because my dad drained it 2 weeks after I turned 21. He thought I knew. He thought I'd spent it. I hadn't. Now everything was coming into focus. He didn't just disrespect me. He stole from me. He buried my future under jokes, control, and lies. And my brother and sister? They just stood around and laughed, never asking how I could work 2 jobs and still live like I had nothing. That night I made my decision. They weren't just toxic. They were dangerous. By Tuesday morning I had everything I needed. Proof of the credit cards in my name, the drained bank book, The letter my dad wrote like it was a diary entry no one would ever see. My uncle helped me scan it all. We made a folder labeled fraud and theft, and sent it to a lawyer his coworker recommended. I sat across from the attorney and let her flip through it. She was quiet, professional. After 10 minutes she looked up and said, "He's committed multiple federal crimes. If you want to press charges we can start right now." I didn't say anything. I just nodded. Not because I was ready to send my dad to court. I wasn't sure I'd ever be, but because I wanted him to know I could. That I wasn't scared anymore. The weird thing is I didn't even feel angry by then. Not in the screaming red-hot way. It was quieter now, colder. The kind of anger that just watches. The kind that waits. That afternoon something happened that flipped everything upside down again. My mom showed up. She didn't call first. She pulled up in an old sedan I didn't recognize and sat outside in the driveway until I finally went out. My uncle offered to come with me but I told him to stay. I needed to see what she had to say face to face. He handed me a grocery bag. Inside were a bunch of random things. An old USB, a few photographs of me as a kid, a stack of certificates from school. And at the bottom something heavy. My high school journal. The same one I thought had been thrown out. She'd saved it. "I grabbed what I could," she said. "He wanted to burn it." I asked why she was even there. He didn't hesitate. "I'm leaving him." I stared at her trying to decide if I believed her. She didn't wait for me to speak. She said she'd already met with a lawyer. She'd been planning it for months. She just hadn't told anyone. And then without blinking she told me something else. Apparently, for years my dad had been borrowing money from relatives using my name, telling people I was sick, that I needed help with tuition, that I was going through some private crisis. It wasn't just my uncle's $6,000. There was also $4,000 from my cousin's father. Another $3,500 from my great-aunt, who was retired and living on Social Security. He told each of them the same thing. "Don't tell Rebecca. She's embarrassed." I couldn't even speak. She pulled out her phone and showed me screenshots of the bank transfers. They all happened within a 6-month span, during the same time I was working 2 jobs and barely affording gas. I asked why she never told me. She said, "Because I believed him. For too long." And then she started crying. I didn't comfort her. I wanted to. Some part of me still wanted my mom, but another part of me couldn't move. I just stood there and let her fall apart. Then I turned around and walked back inside. That night at dinner I told my uncle and aunt everything. My cousin listened quietly. At the end he got up and went to his room. Came back with an envelope. It had $1,500 in cash. He placed it in front of me and said, "We always figured something was wrong. We've been setting this aside for months. It's yours." I stared at it for a long time. I couldn't even remember the last time someone gave me something without expecting anything back. I didn't touch it that night. I just thanked him and went to bed. But I didn't sleep. Instead I stayed up and organized all the files, screenshots, credit reports, the photos of my destroyed room, everything my sister and brother had texted me, even the message from my dad's boss asking if I was okay. I put it all into a folder and wrote just 5 words on the cover in Sharpie. "You don't own me anymore." The next morning I drove to my parents' house. No one was outside. I walked up to the porch, shoved the folder into the mailbox and left without knocking. I didn't feel like I'd won. I felt like I'd finally walked out of a prison I didn't know I was inside. And they weren't chasing me, because they knew deep down they'd built the walls themselves. 2 weeks passed. Not a word. No angry texts, no guilt-laced voicemails from my mother, no snide messages from my sister. Just silence. And that scared me more than any of their usual chaos, because silence meant something had shifted. I kept expecting a blow-up. A Facebook rant from my dad. A dramatized apology from my sister. Some backhanded message from my brother. But there was nothing. They vanished. Like they disappeared from the same world I was still standing in. During those weeks, my uncle drove me to meet with the attorney again. We finalized paperwork to report the identity theft, opened investigations on the accounts tied to my name, and flagged the Social Security number. The lawyer asked me one question before she filed anything. "Are you doing this for justice or closure?" I said both. But deep down I didn't even know what closure meant anymore. All I knew was that I wasn't letting them keep anything that belonged to me. Not my money, not my name, and definitely not my silence. By the 3rd week I started to feel like a real person again. I was waking up without that tight feeling in my chest, like I was late for something I didn't want to do. I'd gotten a new part-time job through my aunt's coworker. Office work, steady hours, no one screaming. I kept my phone on Do Not Disturb most of the time. Then, out of nowhere, I got a message from my brother. It was short. "Can we meet?" I stared at it for a long time. If it had been from anyone else, I would have blocked it without blinking. But something told me to say yes. Not for him, for me. I told him we'd meet at a diner near the edge of town. Neutral ground. I got there first, sat at a booth in the back and watched the door. When he walked in, he looked smaller than I remembered. Same hoodie, slouched posture, but there was no smugness this time. He didn't even sit down right away. The first thing he said wasn't hi. It was, "Dad's unraveling." He sat down and didn't sugarcoat it. My mom had left. Filed for divorce. Took whatever money she could gather and rented a small one-bedroom apartment by her sister's place. My dad didn't fight it. He just drank more. Started calling old friends at 2 a.m. ranting. Missed work. Got written up. Then he said something I didn't see coming. He told me he thinks you're gonna press charges. I didn't respond. He kept going. Said my sister tried to apply for another credit card using my name again. Somehow she hadn't realized the accounts were frozen. She got flagged instantly. She freaked out and left town without telling anyone. Blocked him. Blocked our mom. Just disappeared. She said you ruined her life, he added. I laughed. Couldn't help it. Then he looked at me and said, I used to think you were dramatic. But I was just blind. I didn't want to admit we were the problem. I believed him. Not because I wanted to. Because he didn't ask for anything. No forgiveness. No reunion. Just honesty. We sat there for an hour. No yelling, no blame. I didn't cry. I didn't tell him I missed him. I didn't say I'd ever come back. I just said, don't speak for me again. Ever. He nodded. Then we paid and walked out separately. That was the last time I saw him. Back at the house, my uncle was waiting at the kitchen table. He asked how it went. I said, civil. That was good enough for him. Then he said something I hadn't expected either. You're not going anywhere. Not yet. Stay through the spring. Save more. Don't rush to rent some box just to feel independent. You've got a home here, no strings. I felt something tighten in my throat. Not because I needed saving. But because for the first time someone offered support without a leash. I spent the next month settling into something I hadn't felt in years. Stability. No fights. No fake apologies. No money being taken. Just quiet dinners, laundry that wasn't anyone else's responsibility, and a door that stayed closed unless I opened it. The file we sent to the authorities triggered a chain of events. My dad lost his job after they ran a background check and discovered the fraud complaint. No one called me to ask for mercy. My sister never resurfaced. My mom sent one message through my aunt, saying she was starting over and didn't expect forgiveness. I didn't respond. I didn't need revenge. I didn't need closure. I had peace. By the end of spring, my savings had grown. The $21,000 I left with had become nearly $30,000. I had job offers, friends who didn't know my family drama, and a plan. I toured a small apartment near the river. It was bright, quiet, and had enough room for a desk and a second-hand sofa. I told my uncle I was thinking about it. He said, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Stay until you're ready to go and want to go. So I stayed. For a while longer. And every day I woke up and remembered one thing. They thought I was the servant. But I was the only one who ever knew how to leave.